Yo, what's good everyone? I've been using the Pixel 8 Pro for about a week now, and I wanted to share my first impressions with you guys. As a photographer, the camera system on a new device is really important to me. And so far, I've already taken hundreds of photos with the Pixel 8 Pro. Now, keep in mind that this is not a full review because a week or even a month is nowhere near enough time to give this device a full in-depth review. Especially when it comes to the pixels, because they are so software focused that a software update can dramatically change the user experience of the phone. However, this video should still be helpful for those of you who are on the fence about switching or upgrading to the Pixel 8 Pro, because there are tons of photos and videos. And I also get into some of the bugs that I've experienced with this device that I really haven't seen other people mention. Oh, and I've also been testing out the Pixel Watch 2, so let me know if you want me to make a video about that as well. And before we get any further, I want to thank Google for sending out these devices for me to test. However, they did not sponsor this video, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. With that being said, let's get started with the hardware and build quality. So the Pixel 8 Pro this year opted for a more rounded design. Personally, I much prefer the squared off aesthetic from the previous generation. However, the curved corners are easier to hold and make the device feel smaller overall. Google also opted for a flat display this time around, and I really find myself missing the curved glass for edge gestures. However, I know that I'm in the minority because most people are definitely happy that the flat glass is back. And as I'm sure you all know by now, the display is bright and beautiful. Color reproduction is great, and the 120Hz really feels responsive and snappy. However, the one bad thing that I have to say is the display still feels hollow. I've noticed this in the Pixel 6 Pro as well as the Pixel 7 Pro. For example, when you're tapping on the display, it's much louder and it just feels like there's no support underneath the glass. Now, to be clear, this doesn't affect the functionality or the interactivity of the display whatsoever. And it might just be a personal thing, and it's something that might not even bother you. On a positive note, I am really loving the matte black finish on this back glass. It looks and feels really premium, and this colorway is definitely my favorite. Although there are still a couple of more vibrant colors if that's more your style. And again, this might just be me, but I noticed that the edges around the USB-C port are a bit sharp. So when I'm holding the phone for long periods of time and my pinky is resting underneath the device, it does get uncomfortable to hold because that USB-C port is digging into my pinky. So I find myself having to shift the way that I hold the phone, which thankfully isn't too bad because this device does feel smaller, like I mentioned before. Speaking of hardware, let's get into the cameras because all of them have been upgraded this time around, even the selfie cam. It is a pretty moody, foggy, and chilly day today in the Catskills. And if you can see behind me, it's giving Halloween vibes. I am recording with the front-facing camera on the Pixel 8 Pro, and it's pretty quiet here, except for a little bit of water, which you may or may not be able to hear in the background. It is a pretty moody, foggy, and chilly day today in the Catskills. And if you can see behind me, it's giving Halloween vibes. I am recording with the front-facing camera on the Pixel 8 Pro, and it's pretty quiet here, except for a little bit of water, which you may or may not be able to hear in the background. Overall, I find that the images from the Pixel 8 Pro look natural and true to life. The white balance is more accurate compared to the Pixel 7 Pro, and there's just the right amount of sharpness and saturation. No matter which lens I'm using, I am confident that it will be able to capture a stunning image. And I feel like that's been the highlight of Pixel devices all along. You can trust it to just capture the moment, and A photo that even would have been a throwaway can become a keeper with some of that AI magic. For the main sensor, I love the natural depth of field you're able to achieve with the objects that are closer to the lens. And if you want to shoot close-up stuff for macro, the ultra-wide lens is upgraded this year as well. So you'll also be getting higher quality macro shots. While I'm personally not a huge fan of macro photography, it definitely has its uses and is a unique genre within photography, so I'm sure that a lot of people will still appreciate it. The telephoto also has been improved, and while it doesn't have as much reach as Samsung's 10x lens, I feel like the quality of the images are higher. In general, I really just enjoy shooting with a telephoto lens because I love the compression that it creates. You're also able to get tighter framing, so it's easier to form a nice composition and isolate your subject. But on the off chance that the phone isn't able to capture your vision automatically, Google has finally added Pro controls to this device. You are able to adjust things like exposure, white balance, and dial in your settings for shutter speed and ISO. While this is a highly welcomed addition, I find that the implementation is a little bit unintuitive. For example, when I'm adjusting these settings with the slider, I always end up adjusting it the wrong way than I had intended to. I think I just need to get used to it and then it won't be an issue. But if any of you guys have also tested out the Pro controls, let me know if you're experiencing the same thing. Now you're also able to take advantage of the full 50 megapixel sensor, and you can shoot in both RAW and JPEG. This is a huge deal because I love being able to zoom in and pixel peep at all of the details. The standard 12 megapixel photos just aren't good enough. However, the weird thing about enabling the 50 megapixel mode is that every single lens seems to produce 50 megapixel files, even though these sensors are not exactly 50 megapixels. I don't know if Google is upscaling the images after the fact, but even the 2x lens, which isn't a real lens, also produces 50 megapixel files. But in my testing, it still seems like using the 2x lens produces clearer results than just cropping in from the 1x photo. So whatever software magic is happening in the background, it seems to be working. And while I shoot with the high resolution mode 90% of the time, it does come with its downsides. The file size is a bit larger and there is a shooting delay when you're taking pictures. This means that you can't capture fast moving subjects and you have to stay still for a good second or two after clicking the shutter. For example, if you're trying to take pictures of your kids or pets running around, just stick with the regular 12 megapixel mode. As I'm editing this video, I just realized that the camera UI for the lens selection has changed. No longer do you have the individual buttons that allow you to change from the ultra wide to the normal to the telephoto lens, but instead it's replaced by a slider. In my quick testing, it's a lot harder to choose exactly which lens you want to use because the increments are so small. For example, if I wanted to shoot with the 2x lens, I might slide it to 2.1 or 2.2x instead. I have to do further testing on this, or maybe there's another setting that I have to enable, but it's something I wanted to put in this video as soon as I noticed it. Besides photos, the video capabilities are also improved in this generation. I love how they integrated the photo and video toggle right in the middle of the screen. It just makes shooting both that much easier. However, it still looks like Google is trying to raise those shadows a bit too much. In this example video, if you look at the darker areas, there is a ton of visible noise. But the good news is that this is definitely software related, and I hope that they can fix this in an upcoming patch. And while the video stabilization is really great, it is a bit unpredictable. Standing still, the video looks like you're on a tripod. It's super steady with no shaking whatsoever. However, when you start trying to pan or walk with the camera, that's when you start running into issues. And in this clip, it looks like the video stabilization wasn't even on in the beginning because it was super shaky. And then at some point it kicked in and everything looks smooth. Another issue I've noticed with the video mode is that the camera tends to focus hunt a lot. Even if the subject is stationary, sometimes it'll just go out of focus and then take a while for it to come back. But like I said earlier, these are definitely all software related bugs, so it's something that Google can definitely fix in the future. Before I get into the conclusion, I just want to state a couple of more random bugs and issues that I've noticed throughout my time using this device. The scrolling is also a bit inconsistent depending on the app that you're in. Usually it's extremely smooth and it actually feels better than the Pixel 7 Pro, but sometimes it'll just start stuttering when you're trying to scroll. It's hard to reproduce this, so I wasn't able to capture it on camera, but also it just might be one of those things where people might not be as sensitive as I am. The haptics are also pretty good, like most Pixel devices. However, sometimes when I'm swiping to go back, there is no vibration feedback. And again, this seems like such a super minor detail, but it's just one of those things that kind of take you out of that fluid experience when you're expecting a physical haptic feedback and not getting one. On a similar note, I also hope that they bring back the vibration when you swipe up to go home. But to be honest, if I'm nitpicking and those are the only bugs that I've noticed, then it seems like a huge win for Google. The Pixel 8 Pro really is a well-rounded device. You get a relatively solid hardware package with really amazing software support. There are also a ton of AI features that didn't even get into in this video because I'm still trying to test all of them out individually. But I've already seen really great videos from other creators on YouTube who go in depth on those, so definitely check them out if you're interested in that. Most of the issues that I've had with previous generation Pixels seem to have been fixed as well. My Bluetooth and cellular connectivity has been stable and strong, and I find that it even reconnects faster than some of my other devices. Battery life has been okay as well. I get roughly 4 to 5 hours of screen on time, and it really varies depending on how much I use the device. For the price, I feel like the Pixel 8 Pro is definitely worth looking into, especially if you value those AI features and good cameras. I do just wish that Google would put a little bit more into their Tensor chipset. While it excels in certain applications, I do find that it's lacking some raw power in terms of processing photos and videos. But it definitely doesn't affect the functionality and the day-to-day usage of the device. And I might just be too hopeful, but the efficiency could also be improved with future software updates. I mean, Google is primarily a software company, so it's not hard to believe that they can keep improving these devices, especially since they say that they will be supporting them for 7 years. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know if you guys have already purchased or are looking to get the Pixel 8 Pro. And if you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. And if you want to support my channel and what I do, please subscribe. It's free and it means a lot to me. As a small creator on YouTube, I'm still trying out new things and trying to grow. So let me know if you have any tips or suggestions. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.